Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to another edition of the Volpe Bazzo Report. I'm your co-host, Dominic Volpe. Good evening. With me is once again Andy Bazzo, my co-host.
Dominic.
And tonight, once again, for the third time in the past
3 years,
we have Jeffrey Deskovic, the Executive Director of the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation. Welcome again.
Thank
you for showing up.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Just to get the housekeeping out of the way, you'll find my column every week in the Yorktown News and the Mahopac News. So you can look for what I say, and you'll find my website listed at the column so you can check on the rest of the politics. It's October 1st. We are taping this show, and when this show airs, the elections will be over, so we want to get your mind onto a lot more important stuff. And the Deskovic Foundation is dedicated to getting innocent people that were wrongly convicted out of jail. Now, I know Dominic's got some questions he wants to ask you, so I'm going to sit here and touch myself inappropriately.
All right.
No, go ahead.
Let's begin by, I believe it was about less than a year ago, we had someone named William Lopez, who I believe your organization was one of the members that helped get Willie out of jail that were wrongly accused. Give us an update on what's going on with Willie. I understand there's some bad news about Willie.
Yeah, William Lopez spent 23 and a half years in prison wrongfully prior to being proven innocent. He had two attorneys, Richard Levitt and Yvonne Shivers, who had been with him for 8 or 9 years. My foundation came aboard the defense team for about the last year of his incarceration, and we did some investigation, and ultimately he was exonerated. So he was like our first person that we helped exonerate.
Right.
Unfortunately, he passed away about 12 days ago after being free for a mere year and a half.
Now, Willie, I believe, had just come on. I believe it was only a matter of probably a week or 2 weeks just prior to that show when he was on with us, when he was let go, when the verdict came in his favor, correct?
Yes, yeah, so, exactly.
He was only recently released.
Yeah,
yes,
he was recently released.
We were one of the first shows you did
with him.
With him, yes.
So he passed away. So where does it go now? In other words, did he have a lawsuit against the state or the county that?
Sure, he had a lawsuit filed in state court, the Unjust Convictions Act, designed to compensate. And then he also had filed a federal 1983 civil rights lawsuit in which he was seeking to hold the specific municipalities and actors responsible who all had a hand.
So now, does that go away? That's over? Is that finished? Or
no, the lawsuit continues. The money goes to his estate. His wife and his daughter will.
Oh, so they're living. There's still someone living in the family.
Do you still get involved in that part of the? Does your foundation get involved with that part of the litigation now?
No, my foundation's not involved in the lawsuits, but as an individual, I had assisted Willie. As far as just informally counseling.
No, I'm just saying, once you get them out, you don't get involved now with their seeking retribution. Your financial compensation. That's not what your stuff.
No, we don't do that. No, what we do when they get out though is we do help them put their lives back together again. And so for Willie, he was staying in the apartment that the foundation had leased. He was there for 4 months, and then we transitioned him to his own apartment where he was living with his wife.
You explained that on the last show. Again, because it's been a year. What do you have to give these people when you get them exonerated to help them make the transition? Do you find them work, or do you get them school applications, scholarships?
Well, what somebody needs when they're released is they need short-term housing. If they don't have that, they need clothing. They need some emergency funding. We also need regular contact. They need to get hooked up with mental health services.
And that's
job training and job placement. Yeah, we do some of that stuff, and some of it we have strategic partners that we collaborate with.
Right. So your job, what you're saying is that I'm wrong. That your job does not end once they're released.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You don't just say, "Okay, you're on your own. We did our."
That's what happened to me when I was released,
I remember,
as you know. But
know.
Taking a page from a lesson in my story, no, I don't do that. My foundation doesn't do that.
Okay, Dominic, you got
now. Now, just recently in it's kind of the headlines in many, whether it's media, newspaper, print. Something happened in Brooklyn, something that also kind of piqued your curiosity. What's the latest revelation on what's going on down there? Also, someone else who had been wrongly accused of and had been incarcerated.
Sure. So there was a corrupt detective, Louis Scarcella, whose work hit the media. He used the same crackhead prostitute as a single eyewitness in 6 different cases. And then his...
she was a busy prostitute.
And a law-abiding person wouldn't witness 2 or 3 homicides, no. And so it's obvious what was happening there. Yeah. And then also his confession cases came under scrutiny because seemingly all of his suspects start out by saying, "Okay, you got me." So all the cases that he was a detective for a while, so many of his cases have come under scrutiny. My foundation's investigating one of his cases that, we're convinced it's a wrongful conviction case. But the problem goes beyond him because at the time that he was really in his heyday, he was like the only one really making arrests. And so at some point, other members of his department decompensated and they started adopting his tactics. And so we believe that any case coming out of Brooklyn deserves to get a closer scrutiny. And we have about 70 applications from Brooklyn alone that are requesting review.
And now, how do you go through the applications?
The legal team at the foundation, they review a questionnaire and they cross-reference the information in the questionnaire that the applicants fill out with certain legal documents, and then they ask themselves 2 questions. Does a person have at least a colorable claim of innocence based on something objective? And number 2, is there a clear-cut direction to go in which could help us to prove that they're innocent?
Now, the past, I'm going to bring this up because the past Brooklyn DA, Joe Hines?
Yes.
Does this go as far, these wrongful convictions go as far as him? Because he seems to be in the news a lot for abusing his office.
Yeah, of course. Yes, it does. A lot of them happened under his era. I'm so glad that he was beaten in the election by Ken Thompson. Since Thompson took office in January, from January until now, there were 9 exonerations that happened as a result of his conviction integrity unit.
But now that he's out of office, he still could be held accountable for the misconduct should it be proven, right? He's not immune to prosecution.
He has prosecutorial immunity.
Even if he turns out to have done what they said they've done, which is kind of broken the law?
Yeah, unfortunately then. My case in point, I sued the individual prosecutor, George Bolin, and that part of my lawsuit was dismissed because of prosecutorial immunity.
See, I don't understand. You explain this to me, Dominic. How do you give immunity to somebody that broke the law like that? You can understand a good faith mistake. Okay, you need to have immunity from that because nobody's right 100% of the time.
Right.
But if you did something criminal, how can you get immunity?
Yeah, how is it that they're given the free card? I don't understand that.
And a lot of the cases, wrongful conviction cases that have emerged in Brooklyn, there was systematic withholding of evidence of innocence. That's a big thing. And then witnesses lie about getting benefits in exchange for testimony. Prosecutors in the courtroom swear to it. So really, he's the head. He was the head official. So he's responsible for everything that happened in the office. He allowed that culture to go on.
I was just going to say, so it's that culture, it's the ideology that starts from the top and filters all the way down.
When it all costs, even if you have to break laws.
Right.
And as a result of that, a lot of innocent people were wrongfully convicted in Brooklyn. And there's many more people in Brooklyn who have not as yet been proven innocent, but are still wrongfully incarcerated.
Now, the last time you were here, I think one of the questions we asked you was, is there a backlog of cases that you had as far as individuals sending you, hey, look, I've got this case, look what happened to me? And I think that time you gave me a number of something like you were looking at something like 12 or to 20 or something like that.
We had 12 active cases, and there was about 800 cases that are just awaiting review and determination, just to be put in a queue.
So has that number gone up, or is that
the number? The number's gone up. On terms of the active cases, we have 2 cases that we're extremely close to filing in court, where we'll be seeking to win the release of people who are wrongfully convicted, and that likely could follow 2 other cases that are also in the pipeline that we're very, very high on.
So let me ask you something. Do you think, because you hear all this thing about with stop and frisk and the cops, and the Bazzo just doesn't think there's a good cop that ever walked the beat, there had to be some other motive. Do you think under the old regime, Kelly and Bloomberg, wrongful conviction spiked that was win at any cost? or do you think it was just maybe just Brooklyn and the DA's mentality that did this?
I think there was a particular problem in Brooklyn. That being said, I mean, I consider wrongful convictions to be really a national, not just statewide, national program. I don't think it's better or worse under any individual mayor. And by the way, just to in terms of whether there's any good cops, I mean, I'm wanted to share with you. I'm proud to announce. I'm proud to announce that I'm certified as a police instructor in the state of New Jersey to explain to them what happened in my case. Here's how the cops went wrong, and here's how they went wrong in other cases, and they're very receptive to that.
You got a little badge on you, huh? You're a teacher now, right? Where's the badge?
I have the badge over here.
Yeah,
it's an identification.
No,
right?
the identification badge.
Yes.
But now you're a bona fide teacher.
I am an adjunct professor at Rockland Community College. I'm teaching a wrongful conviction college course.
Wow.
Now, I remember when you first got out that you went to school. This is what you were going to school for, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Because I remember one of the first big things in The Guardian, when you used to write for The Guardian.
Yes.
You talked about, I am now going to college.
Yes.
This is what you were. So all that stuff, just comes through. So how do the cops react to you?
I'm well received by I'm well received by them. They feel awful for what happened to me, and most importantly, they're willing to learn from me. So that makes me feel good because if I can prevent people from experiencing what I did through means of sharing the lessons of my case, then injustice is averted.
Sure,
so
it brings it.
That's
down,
a win for me.
It brings it down to a human level because you know why? They're in a position that if they make the mistake, let's say it's an honest mistake.
Right.
Or, I mean, in this case, like with the Brooklyn, that's actually, you could see where there's intent.
Yes.
But what they're worried about, they're family people, whatever the case, and they're like, you know what, this person, this individual in front of me, their life is on the line. Am I making the right decision by going after you or not? And they have to, you talking to them brings it down to that human side to say, hey, you know what, it's a human being we're talking about here. It's a life that I could impact for the rest of their lives. I got to be careful. So, and if they want to be good community members, good policemen, they don't want to make that mistake that could then, mess up their own career for going forward, as well as the career of another individual.
Absolutely. Let me just stick one thing in, Baz, man. That is, they also get the idea that this is really a public safety issue because every time they send the wrong person away, they're leaving the actual criminal strike again, like happened in my case when Stephen Cunningham killed Patricia Morrison here in Peekskill.
He killed again.
He killed again.
And that's where they got the DNA.
It is indeed.
Now, the question I want to ask you, when you're doing these exonerations, do you have to prove malicious intent or just wrongful prosecution? You have to prove, because I know when they go for damages.
You're talking about a lawsuit, then, not exoneration, but yes, compensation.
They have to prove that this was done on purpose, intent.
In a federal lawsuit, you would. Now, under state law, you do not. No, I don't. My foundation doesn't bring lawsuits. We seek to clear people
and help them reintegrate.
When you're clearing
people, intent is not part of the argument.
It's not.
It's based on the law and the evidence and what happened.
It's based on whether we could prove they're innocent or not.
Right. So whether they did it on, there was a malicious intent to wrongly prosecute, or
it would be irrelevant.
Or an honest human error. Yeah. It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. Yeah, it comes down to, is the wrong man in prison or not?
Now, as a person who actually, because when you won your lawsuit, you had to prove intent.
Yes.
Okay. Do you really think that, I mean, there's no difference whether it's by mistake or by intent. For you still were sent away.
Yes.
Doesn't matter whether
I will never. Yes, it does. I still was wrongfully incarcerated for 16 years, and so it's irrelevant in the other cases also in terms of the human impact. I agree with you.
Just to bring us up, because some people may not know. How old were you when you originally wrongfully?
17.
17. How long were you in jail?
16 years.
16 years. Who helped you get out?
The Innocence Project.
The Innocence Project was it's a
nonprofit organization in Manhattan that uses DNA testing to demonstrate innocence.
Now, as of the last time you were here, and maybe to explain to the viewers, there were different lawsuits, if I remember. I believe 5 that were out there.
It was 2 lawsuits. One in state of New York that was settled. Right. I had 1 federal civil rights lawsuit, 4 defendants in that. So I had settled with the city of Peekskill.
Right.
And I settled.
That wasn't settled at the time you did the show. City
was
of
not.
Peekskill was that, but Westchester County was.
Westchester County was. That's correct.
And,
and also, Legal Aid Society of Westchester also had to settle for providing deficient representation.
Right. You were in the. I believe you were in 3 of them were settled, but there were still 2 outstanding. So give us the update.
So the update is that there's the remaining defendant is Putman County, and the federal civil rights trial will start October 14th.
So
in
we're
federal
still,
court in White Plains.
So tell the viewers, how long has it been that you've already been out now?
8 years.
8 years, and still we're in court.
Yes.
And who knows? Could be another.
Well, no. There's a trial date. There's a trial date.
Trial date.
October 14th.
But you ain't lost yet. You settled or won.
I haven't lost yet. No.
And yet Putnam still wants to do this.
No. They would like to settle with me. I'm not willing to settle with them. I want to have a trial in order to fully expose everything that went on. And also, I'm just playing devil's advocate against myself. I want the defendant to have a chance to cross-examine me, present his own witnesses, and let's have a neutral arbiter rule who was right or wrong in this.
But aren't you risking?
I'm risking, yes, but there's a lot of things that are more important than money, and this is one of them. And here's the other thing, real quick, is that I don't believe I was the only victim of polygraphist Daniel Stevens. I think there's other people out there, and I'm hoping that some of them will come forward as a result of seeing the trial.
So this is almost like this is almost like a seed in the sense that
yes.
Once you expose what happened to you,
yes,
it could lead to others then, because they say, okay, if it happened for one, then what's the probability that others may have been impacted?
Exactly. Plus, it'll make a more full and complete record for people who want to study my case and what went wrong in the future.
So
the one lawsuit will start now in October
14th.
And then the final one?
No, that is it. No, the trial with the last defendant will start October 14th. There is no other litigation.
Oh, the other thing.
Everything else is already settled out.
Settled out.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So answer me something.
Yes.
Book deal. You want to ever do a book now? I mean, you
I
have
would
a
like
story
to
to tell. You've had successes with your foundation.
Yes.
I mean, you have the stuff to at least get one good first book out there.
I would love to do that just as soon as the trial is finished, and then I'll turn my focus to that.
Would you be able to, with the cases you settled, did you also have to do a non-disclosure?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't have taken the deal. I would not have taken the deal if that was the case.
Actually, the buzzword I heard there is as soon as the lawsuit is settled, that means...
I misspoke. As soon as the trial is finished.
Well, as soon as the trial is finished.
Yes.
So therefore, has anyone approached you yet?
No, actually, nobody has.
Oh, really?
No, just what I meant by that is that I've had to put a lot of my focus on getting ready for the trial, and it's a process, as you know, to get a book. I'm not looking to get published by just anybody. It's got to be the right publisher that has a budget to really get the book out there. Because if nobody reads it, then the story doesn't make a blip in the radar.
You don't want a book with a centerfold. You want to do a serious.
Absolutely, yes.
No, but I just find you've been on 3 times. I've known you since you got out.
Yes.
Your story is so fascinating, and it's not just the story of the wrongful conviction, the exoneration, but the fact that you didn't wallow. So that's the lesson you need to bring people that see you. That you didn't say, oh, I'm a victim, oh, poor me, pity me. You actually moved on with your life and made a positive. You made, they say, lemonade out of lemons.
Right.
How long, going along that line, it's been 8 years since you've been out.
Yes.
How long has it taken for the anger to subside, or does it? Or are you able to control it?
Well, I've decided after the first week I didn't want to be angry because I want to enjoy myself as much as I can, and I don't think I can do that if I'm angry or bitter person. I think the difference between that after that first week and now is I've done a lot of work with mental health professionals, and I feel like I'm in a much better place mentally, psychologically, as well as emotionally.
You're starting to get to that point where you can move on. It's like the next chapter. Okay, we're here. We were dealt a wrong card, so. All right, but here's where I am, and let's move forward.
Yeah, I feel like I'm much more
Every day
adjusted.
gets better.
Every day gets better, yes.
What do you think motivates the adversary, the one that's doing this wrongful prosecution? They're taking innocent life. More likely than not, they know it's an innocent life.
Right.
Yet they're still screwing with it. What do you think motivates that? I mean, you dealt with these people firsthand. They made your interrogation, the whole thing. Nobody wanted to hear you. What do you think motivates them to want to screw with an innocent person?
I think it's a variety of reasons. I think it could be a public pressure to solve a case. That's one thing. Then on the level of the prosecution, it's about wins and losses, getting promotions. There may be a political aspiration to become the elected official, the elected DA. On the level of the elected DA, they may aspire to higher political office. So I think then another aspect of it is tunnel vision.
So they don't see the human being,
or the officer, or the detective that by so many collars, by so many good conviction, or I shouldn't say good conviction, but
arrests,
but how many arrests, and that promotes him or her
that's
quicker
good for their
up the ladder.
Absolutely,
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes, that's part of it.
And I just find that amazing. They don't see the human being. Somehow that gets lost in the picture.
It does.
Yet they want to be treated like human beings. Only human, you know.
Of course.
They don't want to give you the same benefit. I don't. That you haven't held the anger is an amazing thing.
So now we are single.
I am single, and I definitely would like to meet a nice woman who's has some education or is aspiring to same, who would like to do something with her life. So I have had very few offers.
What if she just wants your money? Are you still going to put out?
I really don't get into what other people's motivations are. It depends on how they treat me. But just to throw it out there, I'm single and I'm approachable, please. Google me and email me through my Facebook account or through the website.
Before you,
that's a serious laughter, by the way.
Right. As we get, we always tell everybody, and he's still single, and I don't understand it. He's a nice, good-looking young man.
I have a master's degree, got a few bucks. I'm trying to do something positive in life, all kidding aside, and I think I have some nice qualities. That and it's a little disappointing at this point.
I don't understand it either. But now let me ask you now, because I want to close. We were going to be getting close. What's on your plate now, going forward from this point to, let's say, like the middle of next year? What's on your plate with the people involved? Is it all just Brooklyn, or are there places outside of Brooklyn?
No, there's places outside of Brooklyn. So the foundation is looking to achieve a few more exonerations, looking to make my organization sustainable, and I need to add a few components. And beyond that, I'm looking to continue on the speaking circuit, especially to police officers, judges, and defense lawyers. I've done some of that since I was last on the show. I'm looking to continue that.
I remember you were doing that again when you were writing your column. You spoke to organizations.
Right.
Now, you have a website.
I do have a website.
What's the website?
Deskovic.org. www.deskovic.
Spell Deskovic.
DESKOVIC.org. And the last quick thing I'll tell you, which I'm aspiring to, I'm hoping that next September, I'm hoping I could find a law school someplace which will accept me. I'd like to pick up the JD.
You want to be a lawyer?
I like to have the degree.
Do you want to be a lawyer?
I would like to. Don't you dare ask me a follow-up question. But
I would like you want to be a prosecutor.
I want to run for elected office, and I'd like to have the JD for it. I'd like to use government to bring about some positive change.
Why do you feel you need that to run for office?
There's a special office that requires me to have the degree.
Oh, you want to run for district attorney?
I guess you heard it here first.
No, I would have to be. It's the only one.
Yes, you are correct.
I mean, because I can't think of any other office that a JD is required.
Well, you're right. But wouldn't it, Anthony is right. But wouldn't it be a great story? But aside from that, all kidding aside, I mean, I would like to, there are innocent people that are wrongfully imprisoned, and I'd like to have a real conviction integrity unit.
Well, that's like the new guy that replaced Hines.
Exactly.
They're reviewing all these cases, or else we wouldn't even know about half of them if it wasn't for this new guy's.
Right.
Just talking about corruption, but we had the supervisor from the town of Putnam Valley,
right,
Bob Tendy, and I guess it's the Putnam County
district attorney. He announced on this show that he's running for that.
Yeah, and if you hear about the problems that are going on up there, you kind of wonder what's going on. And this guy said, he goes, look, I know it's a big shot, it's a big chance, but he goes, I think this guy is corrupt, period. I mean, that's basically at the end of the day what it is. So you know what? It seems like once these guys get into power, once in a while, maybe it goes to their head or whatever the case, and that's when you get these problems, these offshoots where they think they're above the law. And so you know what? You may be in the right place at the right time. You never know. And as long as you got the qualifications, why not?
And also that Bob is also a criminal lawyer. So he's had to defend people that were probably innocent and probably maybe he lost.
Right.
So you understand the motivation. If what does Dave say? You run for office pure of heart. If you go in with the right motives.
Right.
And I can't think of a better motive for that kind of office than you. I just didn't know that you couldn't just run for it, that you actually had to have qualifications for it. Because to be a Supreme Court justice, you don't need to be a lawyer.
Yeah, you don't even have to, or any judge, I believe.
Right, you don't have to be a lawyer.
That's right.
So I don't understand that. I mean, what you've learned in life and in dealing with other people's lives, you're not going to learn in any school. In fact, that's why I said write a book. Let them learn from your life. You be the teacher. And as much as you may want to run for office.
Jeff, do you still live in the area?
No, I have a house in Throgsneck.
Oh, Throgsneck.
Yes.
Down the city. Right. So you still, but pretty much.
I still come to Westchester very frequently.
Yeah. So it's not like you. It's not like you ran away to another state or something.
Absolutely not.
You don't write. You don't call.
And by the way, I would move back to Westchester.
Oh, you did?
No, I said I would. I would move back to Westchester.
I think you should move back to Peekskill. Was where you landed when you got out.
It is. It would make, and it's where I grew up. It would be what, full circle?
That would be the full circle because it's not the same city. It's certainly not the same police department.
No.
They made big changes there, and you don't know how many people tell me that Joe Hansen was the best thing that's happened.
I fought hard for him, and
yes, you did.
Yes,
you did.
He's a keeper.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you beat 2-0. I'm glad.
Yeah. Well, he'll be coming to the trial as a witness. So my lawyer will have some tough questions for him, which he'll have to answer under oath, and that'll be part of the record that's created.
Now, even though Dominic said you
held
back, you said that you gave up the anger after the first year. What about forgiveness?
Yeah.
Are there any of those you can't forgive? You don't have to mention names, but are there any of the plays you can't forgive? Or does your religion, your life, your life now make it possible for you to forgive?
That's a really good question. Honestly speaking, I really don't think about any of those people. I don't. I don't think so. I mean, to ask myself the question, do I forgive them? I mean, the answer doesn't come back no, but it honestly doesn't come back yes either. It's just something that I haven't really thought about.
If you went into a diner and they were having a cup of coffee at the diner, would you walk out or would you walk in?
And on that note, you'll answer that the next time you come onto the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you once again.
Something to think about.
It is. It's a good question.
Not having anger.
That'll be a great way to end this.
And forgiveness.
And you did, in fact, end it that way. That is a great question. That's a great question.
So I think that's just time. I think it's just like anything else.
To me, it's like, look at you. Of all the people that did you dirty, maybe I could think of one or two that you're never going to forgive, but it's not even you. It wasn't you. You could handle any attack.
Right.
It was the collateral.
Yeah.
And you're not going to forgive.
No.
And I accept that, and I understand that. Yeah. But when I see these people hold these grudges, how do you live? How do you wake up in the morning having somebody to hate?